Welcome to Learners Academy. I'm presenting a new topic from today, and that is the quick revision for the final exam. And I'm taking up all the distinguishes between from chapter 1 and 2 in this video. And very soon, I'm going to upload other chapters as well. And these, quick revision topics, they will come very handy for your final exams. You know why? Because these are bite-sized information. Once you are very tired, you don't want to study, just listen to these notes, audio notes, and you will have a quick revision. So for your benefit, I'm uploading all these files so that you can have a quick revision. Let's begin with it. Now, what is the difference between mass and weight? In our day-to-day life, we use the word weight for both mass as well as for weight. Say, for example, if there is an object which has got a weight of, when we say it has got a weight of 10 kg, what we actually mean is the mass of the object. Okay, that is the mass that we have calculated. So our weighing machines, they actually tells us the mass. Now if we have to calculate the weight of the same object, we will have to multiply it with the g. So mass is 10. When we multiply it with 9.8, we get 98, and that will be the actually weight of that object. All right, now I'm giving you all the list of differences between mass and weight. The first is mass is the amount of matter present in the object. Second point that you have to understand is the SI unit of mass is kg. Third point is mass is a scalar quantity. That means it does not have any direction. All right. It has only magnitude. Mass of an object can never be zero, and mass remains same everywhere. Value of mass does not change even when we go to another planet. Okay, so now opposite to all these points, I'm going to highlight the difference. Like, these are the points for mass. So what is the difference? Now I'm going to tell you about weight. Weight is the force with which earth attracts the object. And what was mass? Mass was the amount of matter present in the object. Now SI unit of mass was kg, but the SI unit for weight will be Newton. Okay, mass is a scalar quantity, whereas weight is a vector quantity. It has direction as well as magnitude, and weight of an object becomes zero at the center of the earth. All right, now weight of an object changes from place to place as the value of g is not same everywhere. All right, see what is the difference between g and small g, that is universal gravitational constant and the acceleration due to gravity. All right, the first point, that capital G, that is universal gravitational constant. Okay, universal gravitational constant numerically equals the force of attraction between two unit masses kept at a distance from each other. Okay, kept at a unit distance from each other. Third point is that capital G, that is universal gravitational constant, is a scalar quantity, and next is its value is constant throughout the universe, because it is a constant value. All right, it is not going to change because of any other external forces. Now the value of G is calculated is 6.67 into 10 to the power minus 11 Newton meter square per kg square. All right, the SI unit of universal gravitational constant is already given in the previous point, but I'm again writing it for you. Newton meter per square per kg square. Okay, now we have to now give a contrast to this. So acceleration due to gravity is the small g, and what is it? It is the acceleration produced in a body under the influence of gravitational force of the earth. All right, now this is a vector quantity. Acceleration due to gravity is a vector quantity. It has a direction as well as magnitude. The value of small g, that is acceleration due to gravity, it varies with depth and height and also with the shape of the earth. Now on earth's surface the value of g has been calculated and it is equal to 9.8 meter per second square. Alright, SI unit of g is meter per second square. Now let us understand the difference between the group and period. Now you can see the modern periodic table in front of your eyes. All these vertical columns, they are called groups, and the horizontal ones, they are called periods. Alright, so now let's have the point-wise differentiation between group and period. The vertical columns of the element in the modern periodic table, they are called group, and the horizontal ones, they are called period. The horizontal rows are called period. Please understand that we have to, these are the keywords. All right, you have to remember them very nicely. All right, the next point is the number of the group number indicates the number of electrons in the outermost shell. Now what is the number of electron? For example, this is a nucleus and we have shells around nucleus in which we have electrons revolving around them. All right, the first shell will have at the most 2 electrons. The second one will have 2 plus 2 plus 2, that means maximum it can have 8 electrons. Likewise, this is called the shell and these are called the number of electrons in the shells. So the number of electrons in the outermost shell decides the group number. All right, now the next point is the period number indicates the number of electronic shells, as I told you. So if it has only one shell, it will belong to group period 1. It has got 2 shells, that means it belongs to period 2. Let's come to the third point. The elements in the group shows similar chemical properties. It's important. Please note down similar chemical properties. So all the elements belonging to the same group will have similar chemical properties. Now the elements in the same periods do not show similar properties, but their chemical properties gradually change from left to right. All right, from left to right. So that was all the difference between group and period. Now the difference between S block elements and P block elements. The first difference is the group 1A and 2A are elements along with hydrogen. Please remember that it is important to write that along with hydrogen constitute the S block elements. Which block element? S block. Please remember, this is very important. And what are the P blocks? From 3A, that means to 7th and the 0 group. All right, from 13 to 17, that means from 13 to 17th. All right, and the 0 group, that is also called 18. They are called P block elements. They have 1 or 2 electrons in the outermost shell. All right, they have from 3 to 8 electrons. Please remember, here we have 1 or 2 electron. Here we can have from 3 to 8, any number electron in the outermost shell. The elements of the S block, except hydrogen, all are metals. This is very important point. The elements of the P block includes a few metals and all metalloids and non-metals. Please remember this. All right, they are metalloids or non-metals. And to understand these differences, let me show you the periodic tables. You will understand. So this is called S block element, and this is the P block elements. So we are not right now, currently we are not talking about D blocks. We are only having difference between S block and P block. So you can see there are 2 columns here. But here from 13th to 18th, you can see 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns here. So, and you see here there is a zigzag line that also tells you about the metalloids. All right, they may have properties of metals as well as non-metals. All right, and this is also F block, but we are currently not talking about F block. We are only talking about S block and P block. The difference between Mendeleev's periodic table and the modern periodic table, it is the element in this. What happens? The elements are arranged in the order of their increasing atomic weight. Please remember, this is a key point. All right. And in modern periodic table, they are arranged according to the increased atomic number. All right. The position of an element is based on the property of atomic weight. All right. And here it is based on the electronic configuration. The position of an element is based on its electronic configuration. There were only 8 groups in the Mendeleev's periodic table, but here we have 18 groups in the modern periodic table. Some elements have similar properties are found in different groups. That was the drawback of Mendeleev's periodic table. And while those having different properties were found in the same group, but here the elements belonging to the same group show similar chemical properties. So that was the advantage of modern periodic tables. All right. Now we have another point. There was a challenge regarding placing the isotopes as they have the same chemical properties but different atomic masses. But here the isotope of an element can be placed at the same place as, why? Because their atomic number is same. So you don't have to worry about. Alright, because here we were placing the element because of on the basis of atomic weight, so we had a problem. But here, since the elements are based according to the atomic number, so we don't face that problem. Now, this Mendeleev's periodic table was not divided into any blocks, but here it is divided into 4 blocks. You have seen in the previous slide also, S block, P block, D block and F block. Alright. So to further make you understand, I'm going to show you the pictures of the modern periodic table. So you can see this is the F block, this is the S block, this is the P block and this is the D block. Alright. Now what about Mendeleev's periodic table? You can understand that there is no division of groups here. There were only 8 groups here. Here while you can see there are 18 groups here. Alright, there were only 8 here. And there were so many places he had put some question marks because at that time they were not discovered. All those elements were not discovered. Alright. So that was all the differences between Mendeleev's periodic table and modern periodic table. Let us understand the difference between metallic character and non-metallic character. Alright. Now, it is the tendency of an atom to lose electrons. That is called the metallic character. Now, what does that mean basically? It means, for example, this is the nucleus of an atom. This is the first shell. This is the second shell. The first shell will have 2 electrons. The second shell, for example, it has got 1 electron. So now it can lose this electron very easily. Alright, so that means this is very metallic. That means it can lose the outermost electron easily. Alright, now what is the non-metallic character? So it is the tendency of an electron to accept electron. Here there was only 1 electron extra, so it can easily lose this electron. Now similar situation, this is the nucleus and this is the first shell, and now non-metal will have more than, first shell will always have 2 electrons. Now non-metals, they generally have, they are having from 3 to 8 electrons. So for example, this is a non-metal and it has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 electrons in the outermost shell. This is first shell, this is second shell. So it has a tendency to accept 1 more electron so that it can complete its octet. all right? It needs only one electron. So it has got tendency to accept electrons. Whereas metallic character, they have only one extra, so they have a tendency to lose electron. They have a tendency to lose electron. Let's come to the second point. Now the metallic character decreases from left to right in a period. So periods, they are horizontal. You are aware of that, all right? So horizontal rows are called periods, and from left to right they have a tendency, the metallic character decreases. Why? As we go towards the right, you know that non-metals are there, all right? So in towards the right left side of the periodic table we have metals. So as we move towards the right side we have non-metals. So non-metallic character will be there. So, and this is a very important point, all right? Now it increases from left to right in a period. Non-metallic character increases from left to right. Remember this, all right? As we are more towards the right side of the group, there is more non-metallic character, all right? Now we have a third important point. In a group, the metallic character increases from top to bottom. As you are aware, that group is a vertical column, all right? And we have different atoms here. So what are they saying? In a group, metallic character increases from top to bottom. As we go down, the metallic character increases. You know why? Because the number of shells keep on increasing as we go down the group. So they have more tendency to lose electron, because the outermost electron is having a lot of difference distance from nucleus, and there is less attraction. Electrons are negatively charged and the nucleus is positively charged, so there is less attraction, so they have more tendency to lose electron. That means this tendency increases from top to bottom, and this is also very important point. Don't miss it. The next is in a group. In a group, non-metallic character decreases. Non-metallic character decreases. You know why? Because the number of shells are increasing, and once the number of shells are increasing, tendency to accept electron also decreases. Now we have another point. Elements having metallic characters are electropositive. It's very easy to understand. You know why? Because once they lose electron from the outermost shell, when you lose, you become positive, you become electropositive, all right? Electropositive. And when you accept electron, you become electronegative. That's all. That's nothing so difficult, all right? So the elements having non-metallic characters are said to be electronegative. Very important slide. So please guys remember this. This is very important question. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. To make sure you don't miss any of my future videos, subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell also. So stay tuned with my channel. If you have any queries, any questions, you can email us at learnersacademy.classes@gmail.com. Now keep learning, share your knowledge with your friends. Bye bye.